Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're digging into a really fascinating figure, someone who truly defined a very specific cultural moment.
We really are. We've gone through a stack of sources, biographies, old interviews, filmographies, all of it.
And our mission really is to synthesize all that and trace the professional path of the adult film actress known as Obsession.
Right.
We want to map her journey from, believe it or not, a pretty introverted childhood all the way to becoming this key player where the adult industry and hip-hop culture collided.
Yeah, in the late 90s and early 2000s, she was born Cara Brunson, September 29th, 1976, in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
And her main period of activity was, say, 1995 up until around 2009, maybe 2010, when she semi-retired.
Now, you sometimes hear this nickname for her, the Black Jenna Jameson.
You do, and it suggests a certain level of fame, crossover potential.
Yeah.
But her path was so different from her contemporaries.
Okay, let's unpack that, because the late 90s was that golden era for adult stars trying to, I guess, jump into the mainstream, right?
Exactly. Music, reality TV, anything they could get.
And Obsession did it. She crossed over, but in a totally different way. She didn't aim for Hollywood's mold.
No, she anchored herself firmly in the urban and music video scene that was just exploding at the time.
Which is such a fascinating choice.
It is. I mean, while some performers were trying to soften their image for a wider audience, Obsession, she basically doubled down.
Double down on what, exactly?
On this edgy, hypersexualized persona that was a perfect fit for the rap videos of that era. She didn't run from her work, she leveraged it.
So to get how she built that persona, we have to go all the way back.
Way back. The sources point to a childhood that is, frankly, nothing like the image she would later build.
Her background was mixed race.
Yes. Her father is black and her mother is white Italian.
Okay.
And that background, plus where she grew up, made for a really tough youth. She moved from Oregon to California in '88, but her early days were in a small town with very little diversity.
And the sources say she was bullied because of that.
Consistently. She described herself as deeply introverted, a loner at Los Angeles High School. Said she never even had a boyfriend back then.
That is a huge psychological leap. From a shy, bullied kid to this icon of confidence. How does that pivot even begin?
Well, it wasn't a sudden jump into movies. It started quietly. Her first work was in hardcore still photography in 1994.
Just photos.
Yeah, her first layout was with Tony Everday. And she actually stopped for a bit, wasn't sure it was for her. But then, in early '95, she signed with an agency and gave it another go.
And that's when video came into the picture.
It was a photographer, actually, who suggested she try video.
So her very first scene, our sources say it was pretty intense.
It was. She agreed to do an anal scene for her first time on camera with the performer, Mr. Marcus.
Wow. Jumping right into the deep end.
But here's the thing. She said she found the experience, well, comfortable, pleasurable even. She said it opened her mind up to new sensations.
So that immediate comfort level was key.
It was defining. And it built this foundation of trust that basically shaped her entire first year in the business.
Before we get to the mentorship, let's talk about the brand, the physical assets, because this says a lot about the industry at the time.
It really does. Her measurements were 34B2333. So her breasts were not considered large by the industry standard back then.
Which was all about large implants.
Exactly. The silicone bombshell look. She didn't fit that mold at all. Her success was built on something completely different.
Her large round buttocks.
That was her primary selling point. It was her fame. And it was so commercially potent that she was cast in these huge niche series like Booty Talk and My Baby Got Back.
And the marketing around it was very direct. They used the term ghetto booty.
Oh, absolutely. It's a classic case of niche marketing. She knew her body didn't fit the centerfold ideal of the time.
Right.
But she also knew it was hugely desired in the urban entertainment market. So she embraced it, embraced the language around it, and carved out a lane for herself.
A lane that just wasn't available to the standard blonde starlet of the day.
Not at all. And she really solidified that image with her whole aesthetic. Lots of body modification.
Yeah, the sources list them out.
Piercings on her nipples, left eyebrow, navel, tongue, and a clit piercing. But the most visible thing was the tattoo.
The scrollwork of her name, Obsession, right above her right breast.
Which was actually a cover-up. It used to say Bensley. All these visual cues just reinforced that persona she was building.
And that persona led to a massive amount of work. The numbers are incredible. Over 250 films.
Some sources say closer to 295. She was prolific.
Which brings us back to that first scene with Mr. Marcus. That relationship was unusual.
It really was. This is where you see the human element. She felt so safe in that first scene
Yeah.
that she refused to work with any other male performers for her entire first year.
An entire year in that
A
industry.
full year. He became what she called her de facto mentor.
That says so much about her need for trust, especially coming from that introverted background. It's about safety.
It's a powerful point. It gave her stability and, control when she was just starting out. She did branch out later, of course.
She mentioned other favorites, Lexington Steele, Mark Davis.
Vince Foyer, yeah. But that initial mentorship with Marcus was absolutely foundational.
Her filmography shows she was willing to do pretty much everything. Anal, interracial, DP.
Lesbian scenes, yeah. But then around 1998, her career takes a notable turn.
Towards the extreme end of things.
Right. The market was getting saturated, and performers needed to stand out. She developed this reputation for doing really unconventional, aggressive scenes.
And the sources label this as nasty blowjobs.
That's the category, yes.
Yeah.
And there's one scene in particular from 1998 with Rodney Moore that kind of sums it all up.
Okay, what happened in that scene?
It was designed purely for shock value. It involved her drooling into a bowl.
Okay.
Then her co-star would climax into that same bowl.
Yeah.
And for the finale, she would ingest the entire mixture of spit and cum
Wow.
and then spit it back all over him.
That is so specific. That's not just sex, that's performance art, in a way. It's designed to be talked about.
Absolutely. It was about selling a story of extreme willingness. It was an advertisement that told producers and fans, I will go further than anyone else. It cemented her brand.
And that boundary-pushing brand was just perfectly timed for what was happening outside the adult world.
This is where it all comes together. The rise of hip-hop as the dominant cultural force.
Right. Her pivot wasn't towards, like, a sitcom cameo.
No, it's toward music. She started appearing in all these rap-themed videos that were kind of a hybrid part music, part softcore feature,
Things like Sex in the Studio.
which was hosted by Digital Underground, yeah. And Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style, hip-hop and porn stars. She knew her look was valued in that culture in a way it wasn't in traditional Hollywood.
And then those videos were everywhere. MTV, BET. That's huge visibility.
Massive. She was in the video for City High's What Would You Do, which was a gigantic hit. Probably her most recognized mainstream appearance.
And the list goes on. Dr. Dre.
For Still Dre and Fuck You, yeah.
Yeah.
She was in Q-Tip's Vibrant Thing and even Chris Rock's comedy music video, No Sex in the Champagne Room.
This wasn't just a one-off thing. This was a core part of her career strategy.
A very serious, consistent integration into a major cultural movement. And at the same time, she was working with Playboy Broadcasting, starting in '99, always maximizing her platform.
Speaking of platforms, we have to talk about the reality TV moment.
Oh, yes.
Because it's this perfect collision of her professional world and the, quote, real world. November 2000, she's on Blind Date.
And crucially, she's not on as Obsession. She's billed under her birth name, Kara.
Which is just a fascinating setup. Because the person she's paired with
Is this very shy, unassuming guy. He clearly has no clue who she is or about the persona she's built.
So you have this performer known for being extreme, confident, someone who loved the business, who was always at the industry award show.
Right, the FOXE awards, the conventions.
And she tries to just be Kara on a televised date.
And it was a complete disaster.
Well, so...
The sources say she was making all these overtures, giving him many opportunities to take things further. He just missed every single one or avoided them. He seemed totally intimidated or just confused by her level of confidence.
It's such a perfect little anecdote. It's like, did the persona of Obsession just completely overwhelm the person, Kara, in that situation?
It really raises that question, doesn't it, about perception. She spent 5 years building this brand of having zero inhibitions.
Right.
And then she steps into a social situation that demands them. It just shows how hard it is to turn that switch off.
Or maybe how intimidating that level of pure confidence can be to someone from outside that world.
Exactly.
She stayed active until about 2009 or 2010 before she stepped back. So when you look at her whole career, what's her lasting impact?
I think her real importance is in her specialization. She didn't just join the market, she created her own.
Yeah.
She took a non-traditional physical appeal and merged it perfectly with the cultural moment.
The hip-hop video scene.
By diving so deep into that world, she basically wrote the blueprint for how performers could get mainstream visibility without having to water down their core brand. It's a masterclass in niche marketing.
It really is. It's the story of a performer whose success was built on pushing every boundary possible,
Hmm.
who then tries to fit all of that confidence into the box of a normal televised first date.
And it just doesn't compute. Which brings us to the final thought for you, our listener.
Yeah, something for you to think about. When Obsession, or Kara, was on that episode of Blind Date,
Right?
was her shy partner reacting to Kara, the actual person sitting across from him? Or was he reacting to the overpowering ghost of the persona, the sheer force of the identity she had perfected for the camera?
How much does that professional identity block real human connection when you step back into the quote-unquote real world?
Something to mull over. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.